Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. Get 6 times longer lasting freshness plus odor protection with Downy Unstoppables in wash scent beads.
The following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachel. I'm with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. And we're going to talk about our friends, the PBMs, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, they're our best friends.
Okay.
Because they're controlling the cost of prescription drugs for the American public.
When people talk, okay, I want to back up a little bit and give a little history of PBMs again, because it's been a long time since we've talked about them. So PBMs actually came into being because, hey, we're going to simplify the process and help consumers, and we're going to help providers, and that'll keep the cost down.
Mm-hmm. So in the 1960s...
Well, PBM stands for?
Prescription Pharmacy Benefit Managers.
Right. So PBMs. So in the 1960s, it was decided that insurance companies would start paying for prescription drugs. They didn't before that. I graduated from pharmacy school in 1980, and at that time, we would fill out forms to provide – they would pay cash. We would fill out forms, provide them to the patients. They would file that with their insurance company to get reimbursement according to their contract. In the 90s – drug companies started to buy up the PBMs, but the Federal Trade Commission put a stop to that. Fast forward a little bit, the big insurance companies started to buy up the PBMs. That's called vertical integration. They vertically integrated the benefits managers with the insurance companies that were they're the plan sponsor. And originally they were set up to work autonomously and be a go-between between the insurance and the pharmaceutical companies and the patient.
Right. So
and the provider.
Right.
So and they sat in the middle of all that.
Right. So their model was built on the fact that they were going to be the negotiators with the big pharmaceutical companies to negotiate the price of prescription drugs, reduce the costs, and then those cost savings would go back to the plan sponsors. So Blue Cross, for instance, Blue Cross's original PBM was Prime Therapeutics. Prime Therapeutics would negotiate drug costs. The savings would go back to Blue Cross, and then Blue Cross would be able to control the cost of premiums to the buyers and the patients, because they were getting these dollars back from the pharmaceutical companies.
I.e. keeping healthcare costs down.
So I would ask you, Steve, when is the last time your premium went down on your health plan?
That would be a never.
Yeah. No, never happened.
Never happened.
What they figured out is they were negotiating these rebates back from the drug companies, and they were engaging in things like spread pricing, which we'll get into a little bit, and they were literally pocketing this money to the point now where these PBMs are worth billions and billions of dollars. It's thought that, well, it's not thought, it's known now that CVS Caremark, so there's your integrative example. CVS owns Caremark. Caremark's the largest provider of prescription drug benefit managers in the country. Cigna owns Express Scripts. United Healthcare owns Optum Rx. These three behemoth companies, it was 80%. It's now being reported that they have about 89% of the market. They're controlling the prescription drug market at a rate of about 89% in the country. And last year they were valued at $518 billion. $518 billion is what these three...
Over a half a trillion.
$500 billion. That was what these companies were valued at. And yesterday I filled a prescription for my mother. I got paid 41 cents. And that's what I got. That's what we got paid total.
As
for the drug,
pharmaceutical, as the pharmacy, as the provider.
As the provider. For the drug, for the container, for salaries, for rent, for lights, 41 cents. How long do you think I'll be in business making 41 cents being paid by a company, a conglomerate that is worth almost $520 billion?
Okay, from a business model, how do they think that's sustainable?
They know it's not.
Okay, so when all the pharmaceutical companies are out of business, except for the big ones that own their PBMs, how does that benefit a consumer?
It doesn't. That's their goal. Their goal is to drive, especially small independent community pharmacies, because I don't think there's any question we provide the best pharmacy care service across the country. I don't think there's any question. With all the controversy in these big box stores and their pharmacists walking off the job, and the abuse and the underpayment and overworking their employees, these big companies right now, all you got to do is go to the Wall Street Journal and start reading about the disaster that's going on. And then you have mail order companies that patients are being mandated to use, and we'll look at some of the statistics on that. They're trying to get rid of us. So independent community pharmacies represent about $81 billion in the marketplace. So we're big. We're big players in the marketplace. We're not $520 billion, but there's enough community pharmacies in the country that
enough to make them greedy about it.
Oh yeah. So, NCPA, National Community Pharmacists Association, which is really our professional body, did a survey earlier this year. They surveyed 10,000 pharmacies, and they got like over 8,000 responses, which is huge in a survey. Typically, you don't get a response like that. NCPA reported that 90% of independent community pharmacies says if things don't change quickly, they will not participate in Medicare Part D prescription plans in 2025. 90%. So where are people going to get their prescriptions from? They're going to be forced to go to these behemoth mail order systems that are owned by the PBMs. 16% said they did not think that they would survive through 2024. Our reimbursements have gotten so bad that we just can't stay in business. 41 cents is what I got paid for a prescription yesterday. 7% of independent community pharmacies consider their business profitable. That's about 1,300 of the 20,000 community pharmacies in the country. 7% consider themselves profitable. And 80% of the dollars made by independent pharmacies come from prescription drugs. So they're just cutting the head off the snake. If they can get rid of the dollars that independent community pharmacies generate, we just go out of business. I don't think there's any question that that's really what they're after. I don't want us to go away so they have complete control of the market. They want us to go away so they have complete control of the market.
Okay, so when we come back from the break, I want to talk about control of the market because we're in political season now, and one of the talking points is, controlling pharmacy prescription prices.
Right.
And that's been a talking point for a long time. But what's being done about it? And there's a lot of moving parts here because at the end of the day, a lot of people in North Dakota go to Canada.
Yeah. Or Mexico.
Because they don't have a choice.
Or they order it off the internet.
Well, yeah.
And then they get drugs laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, that's sketchy at best. We're talking with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk.
Super Talk.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drug Store. We're talking about PBMs and how it plays into prescription costs, healthcare costs, and okay, PBMs, which are the devil. I guess that's probably the easiest way to say it, which they were set up to help facilitate ease of use for customers, patients, and has turned into a nightmare because they got financially very lucrative.
Oh, unbelievably.
And now acquired by the pharmacy companies, the pharmaceutical companies tried buying them. They're not doing what they were supposed to do.
No. And to me, the biggest problem is our competitors determine our business. CVS Caremark's one of our biggest companies that we work with. CVS owns them. CVS is a big box pharmacy. They determine our reimbursement. They determine what hoops we have to jump through to get a patient to get a prescription paid for with prior authorization, going back to the physician, changing it to the drug that they want to pay for, not what the doctor prescribed.
Well, and we'll get into that too, because there's, if your healthcare provider, your doctor prescribes a specific medication. In fact, we talked in the past about a case where somebody couldn't get their generic, so they couldn't afford it, and then they died.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
specific case.
But we're hearing a lot of chirping about there's some congressional oversight now.
Yeah.
And hopefully, plain and simply, this is turned into a massive monopoly with three big companies that are trying to control the entire market share.
90% of the market share. And
that's not good for consumers.
No.
We're based on competition.
Right. So remember the vertical integration where the the primary plan sponsor owns the pharmacy benefits manager. So they're allowing what's happening now is it's being allowed that these benefits managers are negotiating dollars back from the drug manufacturers, and vertically that feeds their coffers. Originally, that was to go back to the plan sponsor to control cost of premiums. The biggest plan sponsor in the country right now is the United States government because of the Medicare plans and the Part D plans. So if it worked as it should, the federal government should be getting tons of dollars back from the PBMs that would help control the cost of drugs, the cost of implementing these plans, and that's not happening. The PBMs are keeping the money. I'm more angry as a taxpayer than I am as a pharmacist in what's going on in this world because it is costing the taxpayers billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Well, for example, you and I were talking before we started this morning. You and I were talking about the Postal Service.
Yeah.
And there was just an audit done on their health care.
I got this yesterday. The Inspector General of the United States released a final audit report for the American Postal Workers Union Health Plans pharmacy operations. Their PBM, which is Express Scripts, overcharged the Postal Worker Union's pharmacy plan $45 million in a 3 or 4 year span. So who's responsible for funding that Postal Workers Union healthcare plan?
Well, those are tax dollars.
You and I, taxpayers' dollars. They were overcharged $45 million. Somebody needs to be held accountable for this.
Okay, that's just flat out fraud, and somebody
charged.
should be in prison.
Yes, these people need to be tracked down and charged with fraud and robbery, because that's what they're doing.
Okay, so now, and I know you go to Washington, D.C. quite a bit, and there's been talk, but this has been going on for quite a while, and why hasn't Congress paid attention to this?
Oh, I think there's just too many lobbying dollars that are being generated by PCMA is the lobbying group for the PBMs. Huge. They have huge lobbying. Well,
when you're overcharging taxpayers $45 million on just one case, you got money to lobby with.
And you're gonna spend a lot to keep being able to do that, because that $45 million is a drop in the bucket compared to the $520 billion that these guys are valued at. But gladly, I think there's just been enough discourse both during election years, and we're finally getting the patient screaming about the cost of their prescription drugs that Congress has taken notice. So there's some legislation. It's 2023 legislation. It's rolled over into this year. So we're really hoping that we can maybe get some things done before we get too deep into the election, because then they get busy with that and nothing gets done. So there's Senate Bill 127 is a PBM Transparency Act. The problem with the PBMs is they're non-transparent. They're not opening. The government uses them, but they don't open their books to our government so that they can see what's really going on in the dollars and cents. So the PBM Transparency Act of 2023 would really make them open up their books so that our regulators can see what kind of dollars they're generating, what kind of dollars they're keeping, what are they doing with spread pricing, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So,
for example, when the Inspector General releases an audit report, we're only getting one side of that. So that's $45 million that they found on the transparent side. That's not what's hidden under the blankets.
Right. Yeah,
that could be $145 million.
Right. You start looking at if they're forced for some reason to open up their books, you're going to see an unbelievable amount of money that these guys have kept. And if that happens, and I hope it does, there's going to be people in big trouble, because they're fraudulent. We do fraud, waste, and abuse things all the time to prove that we're honest and we're not frauding the system. These guys don't. They make us do it, but the PBMs aren't. They're not held accountable for their fraud, waste, and abuse, because that's what they are. They're a fraud. They're wasting taxpayers' dollars, and they're abusing pharmacies. They are the pinnacle of what is fraud, waste, and abuse, and they're not held accountable. They're non-transparent in that world. There's a Senate Bill 2052, so it has to do with any willing pharmacy. So any willing pharmacy that's willing to provide service should be paid fairly. CVS there's been some reports that so when a patient is forced to use a CVS pharmacy, whether it's locally or through mail order, there's some reports that they pay themselves about 10 times the amount of what they pay other providers. In fact, other big box stores won't take contracts from somebody like CVS Caremark because they get paid for so poorly. So they're forced back to use their CVS pharmacies. And because they're in control of what the reimbursements are, they pay themselves a lot more than they would pay somebody like me. And that's just like unbelievable that my competition is in control of what I get reimbursed and what we get paid. So that's the abuse. They're horribly abusing small independent pharmacies. There is a House Bill 1613 and a Senate Bill 1038, the Drug Price Transparency and Medicaid Act. So state Medicaid systems use PBMs to manage their prescription business. In North Dakota, this is done very well. Brendan at the state level is a pharmacist. He's responsible for the Medicaid program. He does a very good job of vetting the PBM that they use, and our best payer as an independent pharmacy, our best payer right now is North Dakota Medicaid, and they proved a couple years ago that they would save if our state Medicaid program was allowed to manage. I think they were looking just at the PERS plan, which was managed by Optum. If that came back to the state and the state managed it, they would have saved like $18 million a year. $18 million. We're not a big state.
Then why
That's
hasn't that happened?
Our legislators didn't agree that should be done. They gave him a small piece, just as an example, and he proved that he could save us that money.
Fascinating stuff. And remember, it's all our tax dollars and our healthcare dollars not working for us, but quite often working against us. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Bakken, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drug Store. We're talking about PBMs, and we were talking a little bit before the break about North Dakota and how North Dakota managing their own and having their own PBM, managing the North Dakota Medicaid system. There's a lot of savings out there. The legislature didn't agree with that and hand it all back over to the state. But there's some laws on the books that should be helping North Dakota residents and, well, flat out preserve their tax dollars.
So as we lobby federal, our congressional people in Washington, it's been well made. We've been really told, do your regulation at the state level. The federal government's slow. It doesn't get things done. It's too complicated. So North Dakota.
And I want to clarify that because you do spend a lot of time in Washington and a lot of time with our congressional delegation. And North Dakota's got some pretty good advocates in Kelly Armstrong in the House and Kevin Kramer and John Hoeven in the Senate. Yeah,
they're all very, very much in tune and pharmacy friendly, to be honest with you. They see the value of small business. Small business in North Dakota, I think it's a big driving force. We're just a small piece of that, but the abuse that we take, I think it's something that they've kind of gotten in tune with.
And we've talked in the past about North Dakota being one of those unique states where the ownership of the pharmacy and they don't like that on the big scale. They don't like North Dakota. The PBMs and the big pharmacy companies, they don't like the way the ownership rules are set up in North Dakota.
Yeah, I believe they're going to come after our ownership law again in the next legislative session. They've kind of left it alone because we're the only ones, so they're just really not. They don't think it's worth.
But there's other states that have looked at building the North Dakota model, and they've squashed that pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
they don't want that around.
So a small state out east, I can't remember for sure if it was Vermont or New Hampshire. They tried to get a pharmacy ownership law back on the books. It got squashed, and the dollars that they would have had to spend to do it, all of their big box stores who are tied to these PBMs would be in place and they'd grandfather through. So it was really pointed out to their legislative body that it really wasn't going to make that much difference. But I think the idea that another state was going to try to model after us leads us down the path of, well, now we just have to get rid of North Dakota's ownership law and then it's all said and done. And then we just keep squashing these guys. But North Dakota, as well as some other states, have done a pretty good job of passing what we call PBM laws. And I have an example of some of those. PBM licensure and registration. So if I feel like I'm being abused by a PBM, which we've tried. There's a law that's a requirement on a reimbursement appeal. So if we see a reimbursement like the 41 cents that I talked about earlier, we have the right to appeal that reimbursement, proving our cost of goods, cost of doing business, to get a better. And we use, they're called PSAO, they're pharmacy contract managers to do these audits, but these appeals are ignored. So when an appeal is ignored, who do we go to file a complaint? And for most of the time, the PBMs, they weren't licensed in the state to do business, so there's nobody that they would report to. So there is legislation called PBM licensure and registration. There's prohibition against adjudication fees. So when we process a claim and we pay the adjudication fees, which is their business, we have a line item. When we fill a prescription now, we're seeing a 34-cent fee attached to every prescription that we electronically file a claim on that we pay, which is their business. They should pay their own adjudication fees.
Yeah.
So our PBM reimbursement and our accounts payable from these guys, it's starting to look like credit card bills and cell phone bills because they're just littered with fees. And what are they? They just make this. I think they make
it up.
They make it up. Yep. So fair pharmacy audit procedures. There's a lot of audit abuse that goes on. They come back and audit us, and then they take dollars back, claiming we made a mistake. Sometimes it's the misspelling of a patient's name. They'll find that, and then that's a mistake. So they take the dollars back on the claims that we made. Their auditors come in and they just stay until they find a bunch of money.
Okay, my question
is, they're mining for money.
Who gets to audit the auditor?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what pops up to my head.
Yep.
And is that something on a state level where the state needs to take a stance, or does it need to be on a federal level?
Well, both. But in our case, we have these PBM bills. There's any willing pharmacy, North Dakota 26.1 to 27.1-4. It's an any willing pharmacy. Any pharmacy that's willing to do business, fill prescriptions for patients, should have access to the same finances and reimbursement as any other pharmacy. It's on the books. You think it gets done?
Who's in charge of enforcing that?
Well, that's the problem. Nobody wants to step up and take charge of this. And I don't want to name names, but just think of what the offices in the Capitol that would be responsible for this. The first one that comes to mind would be the insurance commissioner. I don't think the insurance commissioner office thinks they have the power to oversee somebody that's worth $520 billion.
Why not?
Well, it's a fiduciary problem. They don't have the dollars to do that. In my opinion, you can get the dollars, you make them license, and you charge them enough for the licensorship that pays your department to hire the people that can do the job to oversee these people and make them open their books.
So what pops to mind for me is the insurance commissioner's office, the state auditor's office, and the tax commissioner's office.
Right.
Those are the three that pop up to me that go, okay, why are you not helping out residents of North Dakota? Those are the three offices, I think. Is there a case where they would go, okay, fine, we're just not going to deal with North Dakota? Is that what they're concerned about? I don't know.
I really don't know either. I'll probably get in a whole lot of trouble today, but the time is now.
That's our job.
The time is now because we're seeing some unbelievably tragic things going on in medicine, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah, let's come back and talk about some of those, because we mentioned the young man that passed away because they wouldn't fill a generic prescription because they make more money off of the name brand, and well, you can't really afford the name brand a lot of times. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, I'm Steve Michael, along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. We're talking about PBMs, Prescription Benefits Managers, and the scary monster that they have become. And really, it's racketeering. It is to the level of the worst when you start talking about what it does to your healthcare costs, the worst example of a monopoly that I could imagine.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the state level, the federal level, all kinds of integration across the market share and what it means for your local pharmacist. North Dakota, of course, has pharmacy ownership laws, the only state that does. We are talking about how these big box stores own the PBMs, so they're in essence double dipping. We've got some laws on the books in North Dakota, but there's a question of enforcement or who's managing those laws or those rules.
Who do I, as an independent pharmacy owner, file a complaint with when I'm abused? And we get abused every day.
Well, hell, the governor grew the Department of Health. Why not there, right?
Yeah.
That's a third of our budget.
Yeah.
They might as well do something for that money. So now let's talk about some of the examples. And we've mentioned the generic, that was an inhaler for asthma, young man that passed away. But there are examples all over the place where your healthcare provider, and we talk about the triad of care all the time, which is you need to be your biggest advocate, your doctor or nurse or whoever you see for health care, and your pharmacist. It's all part of the triad of care. You need to work together. But now we've got the insurance companies through the PBMs that are dictating health care. No, we don't think you're going to get that medication because we want you to take this medication. Well, but your doctor's the one and your pharmacist's the one that knows that one may not work for you, or you may have an allergy or something that doesn't work with. But you've got PBMs that are basically being healthcare providers.
Right.
They're not licensed.
No.
They're not physicians.
They provide no care, to be honest with you. They have
But they get to dictate your care.
They have no inventory, but they get to dictate what we can dispense to a patient. Our pharmacy works.
I can't remember the last time that I called up a PBM for a doctor's appointment.
Right. Oh, you will eventually.
Okay, that's my question.
So here's a perfect example of that. We're going to come back to the individual with the inhaler because it's just tragic. This I got on April 5th. So this is 13 days old. Presenting the Express Scripts GLP-1 program. So we've talked about the GLP-1s, the semaglutides for weight loss.
No. For controlling diabetes, but hey, It does some weight loss magic as well. So different rabbit hole, but we'll talk about that coming up as well.
So effective April 1st, 2024, Express Scripts implemented a new program that expands overall access to GLP-1s for those patients most in need. Doesn't that sound great?
Sounds awesome.
They're stepping up to the plate, and they're going to help patients pay for these GLP-1s when they have an obesity problem that's affecting their health. So for them to pay for the GLP-1 medications, they have to enroll in Express Scripts GLP-1 program. So the prescriber and there's a virtual company called Amada Health. You have to use them. You have to use their virtual health model. You have to get their prescription from them. And if you're enrolled in their GLP-1 program and use Amada Health, they'll pay for your medication. So they're telling you who you have to use as your prescriber to get your medication paid for.
But you have to go through their telehealth program and talk to one of their telehealth physicians
or
who's not
Or answer 5 questions.
Or answer
you
5
may
questions.
not even see a person. Answer a few questions and then you get this. And
Okay.
without any input on the necessary lifestyle changes to make these healthy programs, but that's what you do to have to get them to pay for it.
I used to love 2.5 Men, and one of my favorite episodes was Martin Mull as Charlie's pharmacist.
Right.
And I remember the episode where Charlie couldn't sleep. Well, we'll get you a prescription for medical marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, but how do I do it? I got a guy in India.
Yeah.
We'll pull him up with the computer. You have glaucoma. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Where the hell's the healthcare in that? But that's what we're getting to.
So
that's what we're getting to.
Right. And PBMs and big stores like CVS are trying to become healthcare providers. They're buying up doctor groups to provide healthcare through virtual models.
Okay, that's the other side of this that I was going to ask you about because, okay, you've got a lot of physicians that don't work in a hospital setting. They'll work in a clinic setting. And in our case, our clinics, for the most part, are an extension of the hospital system. That's not the case everywhere. A lot of places, you'll have private physicians that are doing their own thing. Great example is Bone and Joint, our orthopedic surgeons here. They are a private clinic. They're affiliated with those other hospitals, but they're independent.
Right.
What if a CVS bought them?
Yeah.
And, yep, you can have your knee replacement, but you have to go here.
You have to go here. And
you have to go to our provider.
And you have to use the replacement that's authorized for payment by the payer because they're going to get a kickback. It may not be the best kind of joint.
And I'll use Stryker for an example because they're one of the biggest ones out there with medical devices. So if you get a shoulder replacement or a knee replacement, that's one of the big products that are out there. Okay, but if they work out a deal with that company and then now maybe that one, because my doctor knows me, in theory, that this device would be better for my lifestyle. Oh, no, you're not going to have that choice because they get more from the other company.
So the decision is made by the payers that if we don't make the maximum amount of dollars on the service that we're paying for, we're not going to pay for it. What? So if you don't, if the insurance companies don't make money on the procedure, and now we're looking at them, if they don't make money on your prescription drug, they don't pay for it. And this Wisconsin example is...
But they're supposed to be making money off of my premium.
Well, they still do.
Wait a minute, they still are.
They still are. And your premiums continue to escalate.
So they're getting paid on the front end, paid on the back end, and then controlling everything in between.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's a monopoly.
Pretty much.
That's racketeering. You're right. There should be people in prison. I tell you what, I want to hold you over the break because there's still a lot more to talk about.
Sure.
This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
News.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Bismarck Mandan, Super Talk 1270.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Kevin Oberland at Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. We're talking about PBM, Pharmacy Benefits Manager, although I'm not quite sure who they benefit. Certainly isn't the patient.
I wish I would. I wish I could. I wish I could manage my dollars. They manage my dollars.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get into some specific examples because there's some tragic stories that are coming out of this when your providers, your triad of care isn't being managed by you.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the biggest problem in all this. You can talk about the money, you can talk about the tax dollars, you can talk about your premiums, but at the end of the day, if the patient isn't being served to promote their health care, I could start getting into Hippocratic Oath issues and everything else, but there's some tragic examples out of here that show that PBMs and what is becoming the healthcare system and the monopoly and the graft and corruption, and it's not going to end well.
No.
And it's not ending well now for some patients.
I think our healthcare system is spiraling out of control. And these PBMs are just an example of what goes on throughout healthcare. They're managing the benefits part, but there's other benefits managers that they're determining what kind of healthcare a patient gets. A quick example: somebody I know diagnosed with breast cancer. They went in and removed the lump, and they shouldn't have done it because it was growing aggressively. They should have done chemotherapy first to shrink the lump so that it would be more easily removed. Now she's entering into a world where she needs the chemotherapy and she needs an immunology drug beside it, but her insurance won't pay for the immunology drug because it's post-surgery. And it's only $12,000 a month.
Only. So
the patient's trying to survive, and who can afford $12,000 a month for the drug that's necessary? Hopefully this will get resolved through some other help and a different provider in a different state. Anyway.
Okay, so question before we get into these. Argument for socialized medicine. But I don't see that as a solution because we look at socialized medicine and that's a nightmare. Look at Canada and that is a nightmare. Yeah. And that's what we've got one side of the political aisle pushing for. I kind of look at this right now as what's happening with the PBMs is that's going to be your socialized system.
Right.
So we're already getting a glimpse of what socialized medicine looks like. That's not the solution.
So is this what we want? March 11th, a newspaper article written out of a newspaper in Wisconsin. The title is "Wisconsin Family Speaks Out Against PBMs After the Loss of Their Son." And again, this was published on March 11th of this year. Cole Schmidt-Necht was a 22-year-old young man living in Appleton, Wisconsin. He was diagnosed with severe asthma at 1 year of age. He just recently moved out of on his own with opportunities to chase his dream until his life was cut short. On January 10th, he went to the pharmacy to get his prescription inhaler, and he was told that it was no longer covered by his insurance, says Shannon, his mother. He was told there was no alternative option and no generic drug would be covered. He didn't know how to respond. He couldn't cover the extreme out-of-pocket costs on his $19 an hour income. He left the Walgreens pharmacy that day with no medication. 5 days later, he suffered an extreme asthma attack, was taken to a hospital, put on a ventilator, and died 6 days later. So now we have companies making decisions for patients based on how much money they can make, and a patient dies. And my message with this to Washington was, as I'm beating on the desk in my office, is stop this madness. This has got to stop. We have got to stop letting these behemoth companies making billions of dollars determining a patient's health care or what prescription they're provided by how much money they make. This has got to stop. There's no question. We cannot have people dying because they can't afford the copay. They could if they kept paying for the generic, but the PBM refused to pay for it. They would only pay for the brand name, which is way more expensive. Why? Why would they only pay for the brand name?
They get paid more money.
They get more kickback from that pharmaceutical company than they do on the generic. And Cole dies. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. In this country that something like this happens today.
Okay, so when you're looking at where this is going, because it's hard to imagine we're not past a tipping point now, but we really are if things don't change, if Washington doesn't make changes, then where are we at?
Right.
I mean, I would say we're probably a little over the precipice.
Yep.
But how do you reel that back?
That's why it has to change
now.
It has to change. So the PBMs are really good, and PCMA, their lobbying group, they're really good at convincing our lawmakers that if they're eliminated from the model, costs go up. Costs go up for patients. That's really not true. PBM reform in the states that are doing it has not raised costs for patients and payers. There's several state examples right now where we're seeing where states with patient protection, so the cost in the United States from higher copays, up in the 28-29% range of price increases. States with patient protection and PBM protection, that drops down into the 26-27% range. So if we reform the PBM laws, I truly believe from some of the statistics that we're seeing is we would see a reduction in the costs, which it's not reducing in the model now, and it never will reduce unless we gain some control over these.
So you'd have to strip them back out of being owned by the companies that they work with.
Yeah, I think what you really need to do is make them transparent so human resource departments of companies that hire insurance companies in their PBM can see how much it's costing them. Just like the postal workers. They found $45 million of overcharges.
And that's when you're looking at one side,
right.
The non-transparent side could be one heck of a multiplier for that number.
So, and I think human resources departments in businesses they have blindfolders put over them. They're convinced that use this insurance company and this PBM, it's going to save you money. They don't know. They're not shown the result of the plan that they bought. If you open the books and it becomes transparent, then and if it's truthful, because I don't trust that PBMs would release true information either, but if they're transparent and it's truthful, people making decisions for their employees are going to find that, well, we're being way overcharged for this. So that is bad for our employees. They get poor health care. They're not getting what they deserve, and it's costing this company a whole lot more than it should. And on a small scale, small businesses need to really consider that. On a big scale, the federal government needs to really figure it out because, again, it's our taxpayers' dollars that are at risk.
Kevin, I want to hold you over for one more break because we didn't even get into the spread pricing side of stuff and some of the nefarious business practices utilized by PBMs and some of these big insurance companies. This is Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bike along with Kevin Oberland at Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. We're talking about PBMs, Pharmacy Benefits Managers. And, okay, the argument that the PBMs, the insurance companies, the CVSs, the Caremarks, all of these different, Walgreens, all these different companies, the big boxes, the argument they make is if you strip out the PBMs, then you're going to raise healthcare.
Right.
Well, we've seen healthcare going up.
Yeah.
You know, I remember back 10 years ago, I need to have a procedure done. I didn't have to have a pre-authorization. My doctor made that call.
Right.
You can't do anything without a pre-auth now.
My staff spends so much time daily working, trying to get pre-authorizations for, and sometimes the pre-authorization is for a prescription that a 3-month supply is going to be $20, and we have to go through all the paperwork. We bombard the doctor's staff. These physician staffs now have prior authorization departments to handle all the paperwork that's necessary. And sometimes it's for a small cost drug, but a big percentage of that is being kept by the PBM. So they're going to make us do all the work to do that prior authorization because they're going to make more money on the alternative. And it's just destroying our healthcare model.
And the patient doesn't benefit.
No, there's no benefit for the patient at all. For
example, I've had multiple arthroscopic surgeries on my knees. No cartilage in either one of them anymore. That's pretty much something the doctor knows is that you got to clean that up every now and then. Yep. Well, you got to get a pre-auth for getting that cleaned up. It's got to take place. The lady example with the breast cancer you mentioned, they're actually driving up healthcare costs because they're not doing the prudent procedures or how your healthcare provider, your physician, would manage a case.
Right.
So if you're going to have to do more on the back end instead of fixing the problem on the front end, that costs money. That costs more money. But the PBMs and they're just continuing to make money.
And any of the medical benefits managers are making all the money in healthcare. Physicians are leaving in droves because they're not getting paid. My best friend from pharmacy school is a pain management doctor in Minneapolis. His wife's an attorney. They would negotiate the fees that they would get paid for a procedure. And I think the last example he told me was a $5,200 procedure that was authorized, which was a lot less than what he would normally get paid. He got paid $52.
Wow.
And upon appeal, it was like, well, the person that authorized it that is no longer with the company. So
that's not my problem.
But that's what you're going to get. And he called me. He goes, "Not anymore. I'm done." He sold off his ownership in the surgical center that he owned in and built a house down on a ranch in southwest North Dakota and travels into South Dakota to do work in indigent communities on the reservation.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
But it's sad.
But he's a great physician, and they drove him out.
That's all part of driving up healthcare.
Right.
It's all about driving up healthcare.
Yep.
So is the question then, coming back to the socialized medicine side, because this is the model, is that what they want? Because, hey, we're going to go to socialized healthcare, but we're going to be in charge of it.
As long as they're providing it and can generate the dollars back to themselves, I don't think they care at all about the patient. The last thing they worry about is the patient, in my opinion.
Patients, us, we're commodities to them. That's all we are.
We're cash cows to them.
Okay, so their argument all the time is you're going to drive up healthcare costs. Well, we've seen healthcare costs driven up. So to me, that doesn't wash. But there's some actual studies out there that say no, that the PBMs are driving up the healthcare.
I found this one, which is based on data from Kaiser Family Foundation. Controlling PBM conflicts of interest does not raise healthcare costs. And in this study, it was data from 2015 to 2019, and the increase in health insurance premium
cost by percentage. In states without PBM licensing authority, that cost increased 17.04%. The nationwide average was 16.66%. States with PBM licensing authority dropped to 16.36%. So 3.3% below the national average, and the premium increase in a PBM managed world is 0.4% above the national average. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, we're talking about $520 billion. Yeah. So add 0.4% to that, and you can see why the PBMs want to stay in control, because they're just going to continue to drive up the cost of premiums. That's what's happening.
Okay,
and the cost of drugs.
I want to talk quickly about spread pricing, because we're coming up against a break again. Explain spread price, because we've mentioned this a couple times.
So a PBM negotiates a discounted rate to the insurance companies for prescription medications because they're working for the plan sponsor. In our Medicare case, the government is the plan sponsor. But instead of passing these savings on to the plan sponsor and to the patients, because again, they're negotiating discounts so that the drugs are cheaper, the PBM reimburses the pharmacy one amount for filling the prescription, but they charge the insurance company a higher amount for that adjudication. So they'll pay me 41 cents, but they'll charge the plan sponsor, which in my mom's case is the government because she's on a Part D plan, they'll charge them $4.10. So how do they get away with that?
How do they validate the fee?
They're non-transparent.
Is that administrative costs? Is that we don't know.
We don't know. It's called the spread. So the PBM pockets the difference. This is known as the spread, resulting in higher premiums for beneficiaries, increased costs for patients. So our Part D plans, we help patients decide what's a good plan for them. Premiums are going up. Benefits are going down. So the benefits manager is in charge of this. They gain more in premiums and they gain more in reimbursement and they pay less. So they're just winning this. So according to CBO, which is Congressional Budget Office, banning spread pricing in state Medicaid managed care programs would save federal taxpayers $1 billion over 10 years by moving to transparent pharmacy reimbursements. Think about that. Congressional Budget Office. These people are in charge of budgeting for programming, and they've identified a $1 billion saving over a 10-year period of time if we move to a transparent pharmacy reimbursement. Why not? Why aren't we doing it?
Lobbyists. Well, and for example, in North Dakota, why are we not letting everything be run by our local PBM?
Right. Or why aren't
with oversight by the state?
A lot of other states are doing their own PBM work because they're working with PBMs that are transparent. So Ohio's gotten really good at this. Arkansas, they're saving millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money by doing this.
So what's the solution? How do you fix it? I mean, just talk to your legislator, your congressman.
I think so. I think as a taxpayer, and I'm a taxpayer, but so are people listening. As taxpayers, you need to say enough is enough. Our local government, our state really need to look at what they can do to increase the transparency of the benefits managers that they're doing business with. Because if they increase the transparency, it's being shown by Congressional Budget Office that we can save, in this case, billions, but I think in the state's case it would be millions of dollars.
Unbelievable. Well, talk to your local legislator. Make sure you protect our local pharmacies as well. Because as we mentioned, they're probably going to be coming after the ownership laws in North Dakota again.
And they'll be coming after me now.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
That's all right.
I think you're okay.
Yeah.
This is Talk of the Town. Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore on Super Talk 1270.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, and okay, something that's going on right now, and it's been going on for a long time, but we've kind of socially and politically let the envelope get pushed, and I'm not a fan of some of the directions it's gotten pushed, but recently, if you haven't heard, there was an attack ad, and things started out of the gate, and I'll even say Kelly Armstrong, Representative Kelly Armstrong, threw the first punch. And the Tammy Miller Lieutenant Governor campaign, they're fighting for the governor's office. She's come back, and there's some things that I deem that you probably don't cross that line, and that's what happened with the Miller campaign. I deem that they crossed the line, and there's a lot of different people out there that are saying the same thing, different media sources. We're going to get into a little bit of who's not speaking up, and I think that's telling as well. But Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller ran an attack ad in which pointed out that, and this is the language of the ad from the Miller campaign, and I say there's falsehoods in a lot of politics, and what happened was Kelly Armstrong, who was an attorney, had represented a client before, and we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. And in the attack ad, the Miller campaign says that Kelly Armstrong had benefited from victims in a sexual assault case. And we're going to get into that right now because we're going to talk, and that to me is crossing a line. That is somewhere you do not go, especially in North Dakota. A lot of people are familiar with the case. It happened in a smaller town in Dickinson, North Dakota, and people are familiar with that. So one of the victims, Mariah, is joining us on the program right now. Mariah, thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
So, political attack ads have gotten really, really out of hand, and it's gotten to the point that what do you believe anymore? So, not to dig into the weeds too much, but if you wouldn't mind, just kind of give a little overview of what took place with the case and how it pertained to Representative Armstrong as an attorney, a defense attorney at the time, and then I want to get into why this is wrong from a political standpoint, but just a little background for our listeners so they know where we're coming from.
Okay, so 17 years ago, my sister and myself came forward as abuse victims by an individual. We went forward, we pressed charges. He retained an attorney, which was Kelly Armstrong. Kelly's a really good I'm sure he's still a really good attorney, even though he's gone the politics route, but he was a really good attorney, and he was the person that you went to when you really needed help. Kelly did his job. The criminal justice system is designed in favor of criminals, and it's not there to help individuals that are harmed by those criminals. We managed to essentially the person pleaded an offered plea of guilt, which basically meant that there is enough evidence to prove him guilty, but he didn't want to be found guilty. And then I don't remember how long he had for probation, but then he had 15 years on the registry, and actually that just expired. He's no longer considered a registered sex offender.
Okay, and the other part about this that's really tragic, it was a family connection here as well.
It was a family member.
Okay, so just to put this in context of where this is. So beyond the tragedy, now you've got that added layer of tragedy because it's familial. And, we've talked with the 31A project, and, if you're looking at what goes on in the state of North Dakota, familial issues are a bigger deal than most people understand. And most people, it's one of those things that you really need to drag out of the closet and see the light of the day, or you're not going to get better with it. So fast forward, you and your sister and your mother and your family have had some time to heal. I mean, it's trauma that's going to be there forever, but you've gone through the healing process, correct?
Correct. So
now we're coming to the political campaign season, and Representative Armstrong, former attorney, well, still attorney, but in Dickinson, practicing lawyer in Dickinson, is running for governor now. And his opponent, Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller, is running for governor now. And it's gotten heated from the beginning, and they have gone back and forth, and I'll even say Kelly threw the first blow on the attack ads. But the latest ad coming out from the Miller campaign pointed out this case. And in the ad said that Kelly Armstrong profited off of victims. First of all, I've got a big problem in throwing something out like that because at the time, this was a very, very prominent case that took place in a small town, Dickinson, North Dakota. Everybody in the town, in the community, familiar with the case. And now this is all drudged up again for a political ad. So what are you guys dealing with as a family currently because of this political ad that is dragging in a third-party innocent bystander and their family from this?
Initially, we were all speechless. My mom's been in tears since she first found out this was going to air. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what direction I was going to take with it other than I knew that this is not okay. Like, her doing this was not okay. So as a family, we just had to take a moment, take it in, let all of our anger and rage settle down before we decided to stand up against it. My sister and I discussed that because of the location of the trial, because of who our family is, we're no strangers to our community. We're a large family, and we're all pretty outspoken, that it wasn't going to be difficult for them to figure out who we were. So we came forward. We announced our names. We said, this happened to us. This is not okay. We asked the Miller campaign through a press article for them to remove the ad, and they stood by the decision of running the ad, and they stated that all we did was validate the truth behind the ad, and they continued running.
So how did you first find out that this ad was going to be aired, that this ad was coming forward?
I think so. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Kelly got a heads up about it or if he read through the oppositional research packet that has to get sent out to show proof for these types of ads. But he found out what was going to happen, so he called my dad to give him a heads up just so that we weren't blindsided by it, so that my dad could make all of us aware of what Tammy Miller's campaign was going to do.
So Representative Armstrong is actually the one that had to break that news to your family, which as an attorney, I'm sure that he was just dumbfounded by this, and blindsided, and then having to go and share that information with your family. Because again, Dickinson, a very small, very tight-knit community. You guys are all friends.
We are. Actually, Kelly, when he's in town, he comes and drinks at the bar. My family owns a bar in Dickinson. I reached out to him during COVID with some stuff that was going on, that somebody else needed to listen to. We're no strangers to each other, and we do call each other friends.
We're talking with Mariah Marsh concerning political attack ads. Tammy Miller campaign came out with an attack ad that, as a victim, really crossed the line when it comes to victims' rights and identifying a victim in a legal case. We're going to talk more about that when we come back from the break. I'm Steve Bach, and this is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachman. We're talking with Mariah Marsh, a victim of a sexual assault, her along with her sister, and unfortunately, a case that was a long time ago, but it's popped up in a political ad, a political attack ad by Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller, and it's crossed a line. I mean, to the point where a victim has come forward going, wait a minute, this is wrong. Mariah, this is wrong. I mean, have we gotten so far down the road in the weeds with political ads and what's true, what's not true, and you can say anything without consequences? It's wrong, especially in a state like North Dakota where we hold our neighbors in high regard, where we consider ourselves a pretty small community. It's, a couple degrees of separation, and we're all neighbors here in North Dakota. This, to me, is absolutely abhorrent that somebody looking for political gain would throw a victim of a heinous crime under the bus like this.
Yeah, I mean, you said it pretty well, right? Just like that. There's so many different ways to describe how wrong it is that it doesn't even have to be discussed.
Okay, so when you reached out to the Miller campaign and asked that the ad not air or be pulled, and once again, what was the response from, because it was Dawson Schefter, I believe, is the campaign manager for Tammy Miller, Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller. He was also very involved with the governor and the governor's campaigns. What was the response? Was there any remorse? Was there any sympathy? What happened in that conversation?
So just to be clear, we did not directly reach out to the Miller campaign. And to be honest with you, we never even thought of that. I never even knew that was an option to reach out to them first and then go to the media using the newspaper. So I learned what their response was when I read the newspaper article that was published with my sister and I standing up against what she and her campaign chose to do.
Has the Miller campaign reached out to you guys directly to go, hey, we apologize, we may have made a mistake, there is an error? Because in the article, they were standing by that ad. They were not going to retract that ad. Have they made any overtures whatsoever of remorse for the victims of a heinous crime like this?
To this point, they have not reached out to us. I'm not sure if they plan to. I feel like they made their statement. They're standing their ground. They will not admit that they made a mistake. And that is probably the biggest error in this whole thing. Okay. Do something, make a mistake, own up to it, apologize, change it.
Yeah, that's what we do in North Dakota, or at least that's what we're supposed to do. So, for me, I got a couple, and I'll leave you out of the political side of this, but for me, I've got a couple issues. One, somebody that the governor would have as their lieutenant governor that doesn't have this remorse, I've got some serious concerns about their character issues. And also, this is a reflection for me personally back on the governor and their character issues as well, having a campaign and a lieutenant governor that is in this light. Now, if you want to make the extrapolation and connect the dots directly, feel free to do so, because I'm kind of going there. But this is so wrong on so many levels. Mariah, you've talked to some attorneys, and I'm guessing it's probably a statute of limitations, or it was not in case or not enforced beforehand. That we have Marcy's Law in North Dakota. It's supposed to protect victims of crimes, and I'm guessing that doesn't apply here because this took place before Marcy's Law was enacted. Correct?
So I am not an attorney. I'm pretty smart, but I've never taken that type of education. I'm a nurse. So if you ask me something medical, I can answer the question. But in relation to legal questions, I am novice at it. And all I know is that it was explained to me that that there's a chance because the crime happened prior to Marcy's Law existing, it doesn't hold water to today's situation.
One of the things that's going through my head right now is in North Dakota, we have an ethics commission. And as that would pertain to Representative Armstrong in any case, I don't think so because he's at a federal level. That would be a different ethics commission that he would answer to if he did something incorrect. However, a sitting lieutenant governor in the state of North Dakota, I would think would fall under an ethics violation in this case because from a morality perspective, this is way over a line. This has crossed a line, and politics should not go this far. And I'm wondering if there's an ethics issue here. I know personally for me, there's a character issue. I've got some serious character concerns about a candidate that wants to represent North Dakotans while throwing North Dakotans under the bus. I've got a serious problem there. Do you believe there should be some sort of a recourse when it comes to ethics in state politics? Because this is state politics. And why do we have an ethics commission if there's not some accountability?
I agree with that 100%. I feel like a person in that type of position needs to be ethically sound and make good moral decisions for the residents that she's representing. She is currently the lieutenant governor. She is under Governor Burgum. She holds this position. She should not be coming after the residents of North Dakota or anybody else just to get herself ahead in this political campaign.
I find it rather ironic that in the ad, they threw Representative Armstrong under the bus for political gain using a victim of a crime. Isn't that what's going on with Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller's ad? Is they're throwing a victim of a crime under a bus for political gain? Isn't that exactly what's going on right now?
That's exactly what it is. She is trying to profit off of us, off of our negative experience and the abuse that we suffered to get herself ahead.
All right. So in the newspaper article, they said they're not withdrawing the ad. They're not. I had no sense of any remorsefulness or anything that was apologetic coming out of that. As far as you and your family right now, what would you like to have happen? What would you like to see? I know there's no way to make this whole at this point, but what would be your preferred outcome as a family?
So I actually did a Facebook video that I put out this morning. I want Tammy Miller to apologize to the residents of North Dakota and to anybody that has had to view the ad. And I'm going to add to that, I want her to additionally apologize to any victim of I really don't like the word victim, but anybody that has endured an assault of any kind, because it triggered emotions for them also. All of these people deserve an apology. For me, for my family, I don't think that an apology at this point would carry any weight, but I think she needs to do something to acknowledge how wrong this situation is.
Especially coming from somebody who wants to represent North Dakotans. I still, there are so many ethics and character issues. It's wrong and it's detestable to me. As far as that video, is that shareable? Do you have an open Facebook page? And I don't want to invite any craziness to your world that you're dealing with beyond this, but is it beyond this? That's a great question. How do you get that video out for people to see it?
So I just want to be really clear about this. I am standing up strong with my family. I have nobody pushing me to make these decisions, to do these interviews, to take this strong stand against Tammy Miller and what her campaign has chosen to do. I did post that video this morning. I've also posted a couple other things because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I am a nurse. I do see how much mental health plays into the behavioral health of people, and obviously that's an issue in North Dakota or all over the country right now. So I want to be clear that nobody is pushing me to make any of these decisions and to do what I've been doing. But I do have a Facebook page. I am Mariah Marsh. And the videos that I'm posting and anything related to this case I've been making public so that people can share it, so that they can stand up with me and stand against it, so that a person that endures this type of abuse or any type of abuse can never be taken advantage of again for political gain.
Amen. Mariah, thank you very much for coming on and telling your story. When politics get dirty, that's one thing. When politics cross a line, that's entirely something else. And I cannot send enough prayers out for you and your family.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me.
Thank you, Mariah Marsh. Political attack ads gone way, way wrong and crossed the line. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.